you go to the museums?
I did.
I waited till 3.
I was there at 3:00, 3:05. And I got a shout out.
Gina had just got there. I got there. Did you?
Elaine, Jen, and I, we were the,
Save myself.
and not only that, we had a cocktail from the beverage truck, whatever it was.
We're gonna do our own beer for those guys.
Is it recording? Okay.
We got paper about.
Welcome, Claire
Little over
is
an hour.
on her way. She'll be a little delayed. Welcome everybody to the Monday, November 4th Board of Trustees meeting. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Peter Alvinci.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no public hearings tonight, so let us start with public comment. You here for public comment or no? Okay. That being said, since there's nobody else here for public comment, we will end that portion of our public meeting. Next, approval of the September 9th Board of Trustees meeting, the public hearing and regular meeting. Sorry. Yes, because that's what the agenda says, but I'm going to be corrected, and I will be corrected and say October 7th Board of Trustees meeting. Does anyone have
Wait a
any
minute,
comment?
This is the wrong agenda, that's why, hold on. You.
No.
It's got the right date on it, November 4th.
This is the right agenda.
There's it on the top.
You just have one thing incorrect on it.
No, I have the wrong one. You have the right one. All right.
Visited by Ronnie?
Yeah, really, I was gonna say.
Are you visited
Sorry.
by Ronnie?
What? Yes, the ghost of Ronnie lies within me. It's just, that's fine, okay, then you all have the right ones and it's fine.
All right,
Let's do it.
let's start again.
We'll do it.
Approval of the October 7th, 2024 public hearing and regular meeting. Anybody have any corrections or changes to it? If not, I will make a motion to approve the minutes, seconded by,
I will second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, no against. Next, the treasurer's report. I hope people had a chance to review this. As always, I have read and reviewed and signed off on all expenses, as well as Marla and any other responsible parties in the village. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the claims for a sum of $323,977.76. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Max has his normal thing. New business. First thing is pods. We have noticed, and we've gotten a few complaints about the length that some pods have been staying on some residents' properties. So we are looking to revise our pod code to lower the amount of time, and I don't have dates for you yet because we haven't figured it out. But we want to change the length of time that someone can have a pod for if it's not related to a construction project. Because some people are just using them as storage facilities, and you can pick up the pod and bring it somewhere else as necessary.
Really? Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that.
The pods?
Yeah.
Well, the whole idea of the pods is they're
I
supposed
thought
to
it was
be.
all like for demolition.
No, pods are really supposed to be, you pack your stuff there and take it away and then bring it back.
You take it to a
Some
big
people
place,
leave
they-
pods there for months and months and months without even a construction project
Oh,
because they're doing whatever.
wow.
So our permit kind of allows it. We'll come up with next month with some writings to change that. So that should be good. Next on our agenda is the ARPA resolution, which we're going to make a revised resolution from last month's meeting. And that is because we have been able to secure some very amazing pricing on trucks. I have $169,623.52 left to spend for ARPA. Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Marla. They were able to find unbelievable pricing on two vehicles, an F-350, which will replace one of our dilapidated pickup trucks, and an F-550, which will replace the small dump truck that we were going to replace anyway, but we've got really good pricing on them. So the price for the two is $165,000. So I've got a little left over, and I'll use that for the shipping of the trucks to us because they're coming from out of state. And we will probably sell our vehicles and use those funds to offset the costs of lighting and other things that the trucks need. But these prices are crazy because the F-550 is coming with an aluminum stainless steel dump truck. And it's coming with the plows installed. So
Where are we getting them from?
we're getting them from a Ford dealer in Chicago.
State contract?
No, we found much better pricing than with rebates
What
and
on
price
Gov-
discounts.
Gov- So what is that? called?
Rich did his research and found a dealer with two very reasonably priced
Oh,
vehicles.
'cause there's that website. Gov-
He beat those prices. Really? Yes. So in some cases, the state contract is not the best. And we obviously look around and Rich, thank you, Rich, for finding an unbelievable price on the truck. So I need to make a motion to pass the ARPA funds resolution specifically for these two vehicles or just 4 vehicles? What did we decide?
My understanding is the resolution identifies the specific vehicles that the village is purchasing. So I would suggest that be the resolution, and it's my understanding that there was outreach to more than 3 sources of possible bidders for providing.
All right, so that being said, I am going to make said ARPA funds resolution, seconded by Mr. Frankel. All in favor? Any opposed? No. Excellent.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
May I go back one moment? There was on pods. I just wasn't sure. Does the board want to draft local law to be introduced for next month?
Quite possibly, yes.
Okay, so then I would ask if there's a resolution to introduce the local law for next month. I'll draft it and circulate it. Is that-
I will make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Trustee Smith, all in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. We'll see what we come up with and we can debate the merits of it next month. Next, we came up with, thank you, Marla, for the 2025 public date of all of our meetings. It's in your packet. And interestingly enough, it's almost 2025, the first Monday of the month. Almost works out perfectly, except for Labor Day weekend. Like this year, we had to move things around for maybe it was the 2nd and other dates. But 2025 works out well for us with no conflicts of any real holidays. So do we need to make a resolution to adopt this?
I resolve to adopt it. It's subject to change, however.
As it always has been. So I will make a motion to accept the 2025 meeting dates calendar for all of Village of Flower Hill boards. Seconded by,
Second.
Who did you say?
we'll let Claire, because she was closest. She didn't have a chance yet. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. ARC report, Mr. Albinsky.
Sure, this was the October 28th ARC meeting. We have 2 items on the agenda. One came from zoning, there was 525 Menneson Woods Road, additional alterations. We had several comments on that, and it was approved with conditions. And then we had a new application for 17 Wood Valley Lane, which was solar panels, and we just had a comment about that I wanted solar panels to be on the side or rear, not in the front. So those are the 2 applications before you.
Excellent. Is there anyone from the public here to question either of these? That being said, no. Does any trustees have questions?
I just, nothing, not about these 2, but Bonnie Heights, like, what's going on there? You know, are they like completely new cesspools? Are they redoing the whole house? Have you seen that? Bonnie Heights of Manhasset Woods?
Oh, the one down by the stock.
No, I'm sorry, Knollwood, and was it Knowles Lane and Bonnie Heights? That white house on the right, there used to be a ranch.
Yeah, it's a major renovation addition to that home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huge.
All right. Well,
No, because when I saw that huge tree that they took out,
Yeah, they went through the process, for tree removal, architecture review, yeah.
and we approved that probably months ago.
Yes,
All right, for these two things, I will make a motion to accept the report of the building superintendent, seconded by Mr. Frankel. All in favor? Aye. Mr. Lewandowski will, as always, will be abstaining. Thank you.
I would just like to note for the record that I had to look up the word coins, but I was informed as to what they are.
Yes, I saw that word too, and I
I
was
had no idea.
assuming-
I thought it was a typo, but I have been corrected.
Coins. It's the things on the corners of the building that look like, most of the time they're fake. But in the olden days of yore, they would be actually real bigger stones that would be put.
Could I use the word
The building on top of the
cornerstone?
cornerstone, literally building on top of the cornerstone.
Can cornice be used as a word interchangeable or no?
No, cornice is a band that goes across the top of a
I guess I
porch
feel-
or a roof or parapet.
All right, we learned something new today, which is always good.
Peter should offer, when you're here during the week,
A class.
yeah,
architecture.
master class in architectural terminology for the mayor.
I will work on that with Peter. Public Works Superintendent, let's get Rich attended highway school,
Ooh, how'd you do?
and Rich wrote a report, which you'll have a copy of, and Rich, do you want to give us a very brief summary of your learnings?
Yeah, no, I kind of.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's really informative. I mean, you meet up with pretty much maybe 200, 300 different villages all around New York, all the superintendents. You know, a couple of things that we talked about are, you know, the trucks, especially the equipment taking forever, you know, ordering it from certain areas and stuff like that, Great Neck, and, you know, a lot of these villages were having problems. We just got lucky that we had to go a little bit out of state for it, but the other thing we did was, I got this gentleman named Jim Craw. He is the director of Cornell Local Roads Program, and he calibrates all the trucks from, for our salt. So basically, all our trucks have these big machines, and to calibrate them, you gotta hook them up to a computer. And he goes through them and makes sure that we're throwing enough salt, or we're throwing too much or too little. It's all paid by Nikon, so he's gonna be coming here the first week of December, I believe.
Nice.
And he's gonna do all 3 of our trucks for free, since Nikon pays for it.
Which is
We've never had those trucks calibrated, so I don't even know what he's gonna find.
better for the environment because we'll be using less salt, and better for us because hopefully we'll be using less salt.
Spend less
So,
money.
Spend less money.
So you should be here for that. And then went to a class for MS4 reports, you know, how the whole new, you know, Gary, you know, it's coming down. They got a lot new, there's gonna be a lot of new regulations for that stuff. It's gonna be really tricky, at least in my part, where we have to fill out a lot more than what I do now. It's not just a quick, right now, when I do the catch basins, when we clean one, all you do is put, you know, it was 40% full, 50, whatever. Now they want samples. They want to know what was in there. They want to know if it was 35% sand, 45% dirt. They really want you to go, and they want you to pick out 5 basins within like a 2-mile radius. And it's a lot that they got, you know, coming up soon with this stuff, so should be interesting. But they kind of, there's another webinar that's coming up in, I think January. I have it downstairs that I have to take because they're gonna start, give us more of a better idea of what we have to do. You know, the office stuff, you know, that's, you know, I know we're gonna meet that guy. But at least on my part, I have a whole list that I have to go through. So I have that webinar that will kind of learn on that. And I did a safety class over there. We got 2 free road working ahead signs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they should be shipped out hopefully.
Big
soon.
ones, Frank, 48 inches.
I like them big.
I know you like the big signs.
And
That's awesome. Thank you.
yeah, and I did my road
That's the
masters.
mesh, press the mesh.
Did they cover like high visibility clothing at all?
They talked about certain things, like they have like the shirts, you know, the
'Cause you
yellow
could-
ones are always the more.
The construction industry, you're noticing more and more, everybody partner with, bright orange or bright.
They say the yellow is the most, it's the best, reflective color.
Because we tend to wear dark colors.
Yeah, but I mean, usually the guys, we all have our vests and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but they're orange. They said it works, but the yellows are more visible.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the guys, are visible.
Yeah.
Especially not going into the winter with bad weather and, snow and,
Yeah, it's all orange.
on the new trucks, get the brightest. Go,
Oh, no, no.
go where the volunteer firemen get their stuff. Just put it all over like they got them on the wheels, the tires, the mufflers, it's crazy. Some of these Chiefs that I see driving around, but the more lights, the better, the more lights, the better.
We had a lights discussion this afternoon.
Okay.
The trucks.
I like that.
We will make sure that the trucks are as bright as we possibly can.
Because all our trucks, all these older trucks, all are halogen.
Yeah, the LED ones are so much better.
Now all this new stuff is all LED, so
Yeah.
it'll definitely be equipped with better stuff, so.
Good.
All right, well, thank you, Rich, for attending the class, and thank you for getting our machines calibrated properly. Attorney's report.
Wait, I think there was a second part of this report on the tree removals.
Oh yeah, we have a couple of dead trees in the park that are not safe, and, I need one more quote to, get them removed.
So you have mentioned there are some on the traffic island.
On Elder Fields. Yeah, there's 4 dead trees.
That will be a subject with the beautification committee's work, what we want to do in terms of tree removal, tree pruning. Who have you gone to for the quotes?
Danny DP, we have another company called Quality Care Service, and we have, now we have, what is it called? Cutting Edge, they're called. And we also can get, I gotta see, I might reach out to Heffern Tree Services as well. So, I mean, the ones in the park are, those have to come down. I mean,
Which species are they, do you know?
they're,
Just curious.
yeah, no,
I think they're called trees. They're from the subgenus tree. Yes.
I mean, it
Yes.
doesn't take much to
subgenus
see that,
10.
they're dead.
It's a Treesius bigius. It's larger trees.
We went out with the village, with the master arborist to make sure that these things really needed to come down.
So we wanna hold off on the ones from Elder Fields?
No.
No.
I was just interested in hearing where and who you were talking to, because
Yeah.
I think we'll want, if we find someone we like and we want to work with them,
Mhm.
we're trying to work out a program that we can do some
Just,
other work on the islands.
okay.
Because some of that, and Gary will talk about it, but the preliminary findings were that there's a lot
There's a lot.
that needs to be, and so that's why he was questioning.
So while we're on the subject, though, I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up, but so there seems to be a problem with the house that is right on the border of Flatwood Hill and Plandome down by Manhasset Woods Road. Those 2 houses that they did work on. One's the new house. Every morning when I drive by, the road is literally completely wet, flooded with water. Do we know what's going on with? Do they just have poor stormwater management on their property? Because as it gets cold,
It's gonna freeze up.
that's going to freeze, and so the homeowner should be put on notice that that's a potential hazard. In the event somebody does have an accident there, we have somebody that we can hold
Is there
responsible.
sprinklers or something that's broken?
It's maybe, but it's significant water every day, every morning.
So just so I can check tomorrow, what house, the one?
It's the new,
Is it the last house in Flower Hill?
Yeah, it's the new one that kept.
So it's that the new house.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
so something.
We can have, well,
I mean,
let's
they
have,
definitely had to do regrading there. when they
let's
did it.
have Jack speak to the current owner, because I think the house is sold. I'm sure there's a sprinkler issue they just don't know what to address. Sprinklers should be turned off by now anyway, so
But if it's every day,
if it's every day, that means they probably have their sprinklers set for every day.
Yeah.
As we know, our sprinklers should be off by now.
Anytime.
Well, we don't have a policy on
well, if
sprinklers.
they drought, you can
It
being
is set
shut
by the
off.
water district.
They haven't said, Roslyn hasn't, I mean, mine's been off
I
for weeks
spoke
already.
to the Port Washington Commissioner, the other, superintendent, and they have a recommended date. They also have recommended times you're supposed to water and not water, and hours. The water districts do not have an enforcement arm for that. That is something the individual villages would
Oh,
need
okay.
to enact legislation
Right.
and then enforce accordingly. And
The other,
until the water districts come to us and say we should do something about it, I do not want to over legislate
Right.
our homeowners. I think it's terrible that people are wasting water, but that's.
the other thing I don't know if we can ever do this, but, my neighbor keeps his pool open now until December. So at night, he runs his heater and his pump, which is right next to my bedroom. I mean, maybe we need to look into for next year whether or not we put restrictions on how, overnight mechanical equipment that's not for heating or cooling. Because there's really no reason to have your pool open at this. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's November, but
Why don't you research other villages and see if there's any similar legislation? Ecode 360 is a wonderful tool. Because if you don't.
very familiar with.
Do you have a master login?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, good. And you can look up every code around the country.
So
So
we often check codes in our
I
office.
figured you would. So I would recommend you find
Yeah,
similar
that's a good
legislation.
idea.
And if there's something that's out there, we can take a look at it. It seems like a one-off problem,
Yeah, I don't know how many people do it, but
but why don't you find some legislation? Let's see if it's something and we can look at it in the next couple of months. Zoning report, village attorney.
So there was one matter that was heard last month. They were requesting 3 variances, which at first blush might sound like a lot, but this is a property that is partly in Flower Hill, partly in Planville. And what the applicant pointed out is that if the whole property was considered, they wouldn't need any of the variances. But the building inspector in Flower Hill can only consider that portion of the property that's in Flower Hill, so they had to come to Flower Hill for variances. But what they explained is that if you were to look at the whole property, that this would not have any negative impact, and that in fact there would be none of the 3. The board agreed and did approve it, but also, as with a similar application, which went across 2 municipalities, the board conditioned that grant upon the applicant and future owners continuing to use the property as one parcel, and as long as the dwelling stays on the property, and if the dwelling is demolished, then the variances would be void without further action of the board, and the decision wouldn't be binding on future boards. That's just to make sure that.
This is, I guess you're referencing Hewlett.
This is actually 451 Dogwood.
No, the one you referenced of a
Yes,
previous.
the prior
So
one.
this is nothing new to the village, these types of variances.
Right, this is a similar type of application.
Okay. Excellent. I'm glad we're able to.
is that the only property that's split between? Do we have other properties that are split?
I'm aware of the one on Hewlett.
We had that woman that
That was
she had an
a-
issue, remember,
Yeah,
with the,
hold the driveway.
with the driveway.
Oh, with
and
Muncie
that
Park
was-
and-
It was Muncie Park
Yeah,
and Flower
Madison
Hill.
Woods Road.
Remember that?
That was with the water district.
Yeah.
And that had
Oh.
nothing, that happened to be a property adjoining her property.
Oh.
It was not a property,
Yeah, it
it
was
is not
not.
her property split
Right,
into
right.
Okay.
multiple jurisdictions.
Was
We
that-
have the Hewlett, which was North Hempstead and Flower Hill, and that was taken care of. And then we have this property. There are other ones,
Interesting.
whenever they drew the border lines,
Interesting.
things
I
happen.
never knew that we had that.
Yeah, there are a couple of them. And unfortunately, it triggers a zoning application.
Be interesting for tax bill.
Yeah, right, correct.
And possibly school district choices, because there are homes that are in multiple school districts. One being right by your house that I know of. I have a mayor's report.
Well, the zip code for 11050 and 11575 runs right through my property.
That's interesting.
But my front door is in the Port Washington side, so that's how they.
Right. Interesting. All right, mayor's report. Let's see. I attended the NCPD Commissioner Riders Community Council meeting where we got a wonderful presentation from the Missing Persons Department. Attended the Ann Donnelly's Cybersecurity Annual Conference where I learned some new interesting tips to keep our village safe. The deputy mayor and I attended the NCVOA event. Ms. Wolfson and I today attended the St. Francis Guild Veterans event, which is a wonderful event with the trees and the veterans. And it's always a wonderful event to do that. So I was glad we get to do that again. Let's see. I attended the Long Island Sound resiliency event at the Saints Point Preserve. And though we have very little waterfront in Flower Hill, it was a very educational presentation by all various speakers. The two interesting things from one vendor is they have this new grid system that you can attach into receding hillsides, and you can clip them all into each other like a giant Lego set, and it stabilizes the land as you plant vegetation in it. And then once the vegetation starts to grow, you just pull these systems out of the ground. They're held in a giant corkscrew. You just pull the corkscrew out, and then all the vegetation can then restabilize a hillside, and that's pretty cool. And they also have this multi-tiered oyster bed device, almost like a cake box thing. And, it's great for the oyster projects that are going on in mostly Manhasset Bay. Hopefully eventually we'll have them in Hempstead Harbor. So instead of just one layer of oysters, we can have, they can tier it up so they can grow 5 tons the amount of oysters in the same real estate. It is an oyster tree. Have you seen it before?
I heard about it.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'll send you the PowerPoint. It's pretty interesting. They had one at the event, so it's cool to see. And then lastly, the big one. I should have made this firstly. Marla, myself, and Rich met with the Long Island Railroad and the mayor of Plandome Heights. We met with the Long Island Railroad at the Webster Avenue Bridge. So I will put a lot of the notes of the history of the bridge in my mayor's newsletter. But it looks like we have dates for when the bridge is going to be replaced. Starting in December, which is only 30 days away, they are going to start removing trees on the side of the road, mostly in Plandome Heights on that side of the bridge, but a couple on our side, to get everything ready for the stabilization that has to happen for this new bridge. And it looks like in January 2025, so 2 months away, they're going to close the bridge itself for all the work that has to happen. It's a 9-month project. Luckily, the people who are doing this work are the same people who did a lot of the overpasses and underpasses for the Third Rail project, so they know how to work quickly. So,
Railroad construction company.
sorry.
They're called the Railroad
Oh, that's
Construction
the
Company.
name. Okay.
Well, because they're kind of a client of ours, because they're occupying a building. But when I went to see her, she said, I said, I'm Deputy Mayor. She said, I met the mayor of your village, Randall. He's so nice. So it couldn't have been.
It wasn't me. It must have been someone else she met.
They're on Liberta and Milo, they're on the second floor. She said, it's very nice. He's so nice, so cooperative, easy to get along with.
Well, that's why they're moving in locally.
Because they're going to be there for a year.
Interesting.
Close to. Yeah. As the railroad is going to do the community outreach to the affected homeowners and the nearby residents. So AJ, you might get a knock on your door at some point, or not. Just so they can
Right down the block.
so they can explain the project and whatnot. I haven't received any formal materials from them, but Mayor Sika wrote a really nice letter to his residents. I'm going to paraphrase most of it and put it in our newsletter. The good thing is most of the storage of equipment and materials are going to be on the other side of the bridge. So it's really not going to affect our residents. The 2 residents that are on both sides, they will have some equipment nearby, and the road will be closed, but it'll be open so that they can get into their homes. So they'll be slightly affected.
But you can't cross over.
No, the bridge will be closed, but the 2 homeowners have their driveways.
Is this a prefab bridge that they're going to crane in and? Did they tell you?
Is it going to be? I think it's a prefab. I think you can slide it in.
Is there?
Because usually for these size bridges, they're pre-made.
Allegedly,
Crane
they're
it in,
only
just drop it in.
closing. Allegedly, they're only closing for train traffic 1 weekend.
That's what I was wondering.
That's it. I was shocked. I think it's only
That's probably when
I think it's
they
the-
probably bring the crane in.
They're gonna do demo. I think they're gonna do the demo and the sliding at the same weekend, possibly. But they have a lot of shoring to do because this bridge is 127 years old. 127 years old.
Yeah.
So the standards of sight lines and approaches
Yeah.
and the way it's secured on the sides,
Yeah.
nowhere near today's code. So they have a lot of work ahead of them to make it a modern bridge, but it'll be quieter, it'll be safer, and then like to AJ and you guys, because you guys over the bridge a lot, the sight lines are going to be improved dramatically. Because right now the sight lines are terrible.
Listen, you have to assume.
I bet you'll love the traffic. You'll have a lot less traffic.
No, but one of the big problems is when they close Platinum Road, and they do. Sundays in the summer, they close it. It's really the only viable way to get around that area. I don't really know if they're
Yeah, but that's.
ready for that.
Yeah, but that's for al fresco. Do that.
Well, when
And then won't be-
But I mean, there's really no viable way to get from Northern Boulevard into Port Washington other than Platinum Road or going around through my house and going out the other way.
Go Bayview.
I will reach out, Marla will reach out to the Manhasset, whatever that associations, and we'll talk to them about it. They might want to massage the chamber. They might want to change their dates of their events because of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
We'll
few
make them
things.
aware.
They do runs,
Mhm.
that, that they.
Right.
I mean, I'm just thinking about it in my head, but every time that Platinum Road is even like closed for an hour or two, there's literally, I cannot think of any way to get past that problem
What's-
other than go down my block.
The thing is though, the bridge has to be replaced. So,
No,
They will do it, but we will attempt to let any other community groups know about changing event
Go to
dates
Manhasset Woods Road.
and just whatever, because you're right, I forgot about those events, because I don't go that way
Or you
often.
go down Rockwood or whatever.
It's a very windy, you really have to go.
What's the overall schedule, Randall?
basically
Allegedly,
February, November.
January through.
9 months, January through September, so it
Oh,
goes
it
through
is.
summer. Yeah, 9 months.
Wow, I didn't realize that. That's pretty stuff.
The shoring of the bridge is the major work, and the regrading of the approaches.
Bridge has been a mess forever, since I moved. It makes noise all the time.
I love it.
Very minor.
Yeah, I know the volume, but it's.
So I walked over it the other day and I was scared. That was me just
There's
walking
a whole
over it.
population of animals living in the sewers.
You're only going out.
We're gonna be homeless.
All right, that's the end of the mayor's report. Do I have any trustees report? Trustees report?
Gary, you want to,
Trustees report, Mr.
Gary, you
Lukowski.
want to talk about the beautification?
Sure. So we have been making some progress. We went out middle of last month. Was it middle of last month?
Yep.
Yeah, it was only a couple of weeks ago.
It was Mary Jo and I and Kevin Natalie from Bayview Landscape. Is that? It's not Bayview.
Laurel Group.
Laurel Group, sorry, I'm getting confused with another landscape architect. Laurel Group, and one of the committee members who also happens to be on Rewild, Long Island. And we did a tour of a bunch of the islands. We had some good discussions about some approaches to how to manage first, kind of what would be done to just clean things up. Secondly, what could be done as first efforts to improve. And then lastly, like what would be a final kind of planting. And the biggest issue for us really is that we have no irrigation. So we have to be conscious of what kind of plantings, drought tolerant, obviously. So that limits our plant selection. So it's great working with Kevin. He's a great resource. I'm so happy that he has volunteered. I mean, I know Kevin a little bit professionally, but it's been great working with him and getting to know him on a more personal level and working more deeply into projects with him. So he's given us some first ideas. And one of the ideas is dealing with the trees. So if there's trees that should come down, we should identify those, and that's kind of like the first thing that we should be doing. Also, we're talking about tree pruning. So, different ways, there's different approaches on tree pruning. And that's why I think we want to find out who we're comfortable with. There's 2 or 3 people that we want to talk to about doing a much wider program. Obviously, we got to talk about funding that and so forth. But right now, we're just in the kind of information gathering mode. And from that, coming up with some schemes that then we can start putting numbers on and then figuring out how we're going to fund that work.
And I think you're meeting again. in a
We're
few days.
meeting this week. later this
We're
week.
meeting Thursday, just a couple, I mean, I guess not everybody can come, but we want to get something started with a report of some, so that it's not just a free-for-all of ideas that go nowhere. So Gary's has some notes from our meeting, his discussion, our meeting. Also, Mitchell Schwartz has been amazing, as always. He's so thorough. And I don't know if he CC'd you on those of you who got his email. I asked him a question just about some history in Flower Hill, the name, whatever. And he, over the top, came back with much more information. It was great. But one of the things he came up with, which I thought was very interesting, is one of the islands, the Desmond Gallagher Green on Ridge Drive. And I guess the Desmond Gallagher was a Purple Heart recipient. And he said potentially there's funding for, for a memorial there, which again, as we're looking for creative ways to fund, he said perhaps there's he received a Purple Heart. He said, I think a great funding case can be built to make a Flower Hill Veterans Memorial there for the many village residents who have served in our armed forces. So again, don't know what kind of money he's talking about or how that could dovetail to the improvement on that green, but I think that would be certainly something we would bring back to the board, because do we currently have a veterans
I don't think we
memorial
do.
anywhere?
I'm not aware of that.
So it might be
It's really neat.
one of our islands that might
We
be,
should, yeah, we definitely should.
So anyway, so
That's
things
good
like
idea.
that. So when we have our first meeting, and I think the idea is to give them the information that Kevin has recommended. And again, it's almost overwhelming because there's so much that probably needs to be done. Where do you start funding and limitations? But then we also, obviously the committee has been selected, so we need to hear from them about their ideas. We'll also put something out about Fund an Island. I think it's interesting about if that bridge is going to be closed, the Flower Hill Women's, who was one of the ones who said we'd like to, adopt that. It's already been adopted, but put more money into it. Maybe they don't want to do that until the bridge is,
Right.
let's see what happens there.
Fortunately, I spoke to them about that. They spoke to them about our roads, and they indicated that as of now, they intend to have very little truck traffic
Okay.
there. Now, that could always change as the project goes, because Rich and our concern was we were looking to pave roads in that area. And since that's why we didn't do any work last year in the area, because we knew this is coming. And with the potential for trucks, we probably will hold off on the paving of there again. But yes, with the island, they said they wouldn't go that far in, but again, you never know, somebody with a truck's gonna run something over. So we'd probably, that island, which would be a great island to work on now, we should wait.
Right. And the other thing is, one of the questions that came up was, do we want something consistent so that we can identify it as Flower Hill? Like if you look at Muncie Park, he doesn't have, 20 varieties of this, that, and everything else going on. It's a very consistent look. So I think that was one of Kevin's
I think a
points.
consistent look is great, and it's probably easier for Rich to maintain if you master
Right.
the way each of these
Right.
I think,
flora grow.
right. I
You don't
think
have
that, he is focused on it. Obviously, there's the ones that get a lot of sunlight. That's kind of one idea of what works there, and those that are more in shade, but basically there are groupings of, these are the 2 or 3 species that we would use given this environment. So, I think we'll gradually get our hands around it. It's a big project, but we'll get our hands around it.
And keep in mind, there's also the no matter what you put in there, that there's going to be a requirement for pruning and maintenance and proper, not just, okay, let's cut the grass today. And no offense, I don't mean it with your staff, it's been great. But in terms of if we do something, we have to be mindful of, we can't just have it look great for 1 year and then all of a sudden we didn't have the resources to maintain it.
Mhm.
So again, that's gonna be, so somewhere between planting grass and Pachysandra and having something more
No
creative.
Pachysandra. That's on the naughty list.
Why is that on the?
It is
naughty list?
very difficult, no, it's very difficult for Rich to clean anything that gets in their leaves, debris.
It's a horrible thing.
It is very,
It's very
that's why we have very
invasive,
little
it's just-
Pachysandra. Rich is getting rid of all the Pachysandra because it's too much.
So
it's very
we're
difficult
gonna
to
be butting
maintain.
heads, I see, okay, good.
Okay, so glad you told us that.
It's one of the worst things to maintain.
Yeah. And it's invasive.
It grows a lot.
Sucks the nutrients out of everything
Grows
else
a lot.
that's around.
And it's very difficult to remove. Yeah. Oh, since you brought up Mitchell did have a report for tonight, but he had car issues. He got the next phase of landmarking completed, I believe, for the Flower Hill Cemetery. So that, once that goes through the final hurdle, we're then able to go and get grants because it's a landmarked, not just our landmarking, but whatever the next organization level is, level of landmarking, so we can get some funds to have it preserved and renewed and protected. So thank you, Mitchell, even though you're not here tonight. Any other trustee reports? Claire, your daughter has anything to add?
Other than I'm
You
bored
sure?
out of my mind.
Come on, you asked for a road once and we did it. You don't want anything else? You just want to go home. All right, I will make a motion to close the November 4th Board of Trustees meeting. Do I have a second? Ms. Dorfman, all in favor? See you all on Monday, December 2nd.
The shortest one ever.
I tried. Rich, you want to kill the thing? And then we're going to reorder this building for the election.
Who's doing it, the guy?
Rich is going to do it right now.
Yeah. Are we supposed to leave?
Peter, you could have